morning. Good morning. I'm out in the cutting garden today because I have two matching arrangements to make that involve these two pumpkins. But first, I need to go and cut some flowers. Now it's well into October, so I won't be doing this for much longer. I'm hoping to get another week, but we really could get a frost any day now. And all it would take is one good frost to wipe out all of my dahlias, all of my zinnias, and the zinnias have been so good this year. So many things are still looking really nice, but definitely coming to an end very shortly. These cosmos have been fantastic. I have been saving seed. I think they're a little past using at this point. But the first thing that I want to go and get are the zinnias for sure, because they are going to be the bulk of these arrangements. Some of these, I forget exactly what variety I've planted, and some of these were a mix. I don't really need super long stems for these, but I'm going to cut them long anyway, and then I can trim them down at the end. These zinnias are all starting to get spots on the leaves. It's pretty late in the season. They have been fantastic though. I only have two little 10-foot rows, and I've gotten hundreds and hundreds of blooms off of this patch this year. This one is every bit of 4 feet tall, and to check and see if it's ready, I'm just giving it a gentle wiggle. If you look at it carefully, the flower head is not wiggling back and forth. This zinnia is ready to cut. It means it's going to hold up well and it won't flop over in the vase. But this one over here wiggles back and forth. This one is not ready, and you can see by the look, the petals haven't even completely uncurled yet, but this wiggle back and forth is what you're looking for. This flower is definitely not ready. And this one, which is past its prime and not ready to cut, but another good example of how that flower head does not sway. So anything that doesn't sway like that, you can cut. It will stand up really well in the vase, and we call that the wiggle test. I think that's definitely enough. I found a little bit of ornamental grass as well. Oh, good. I was hoping to get a few snapdragons. And snapdragons actually survive the frost really well. So even if we do get a mild frost or a couple, the snapdragons should still be okay. But at that point, I won't have enough to sell, so I'll really just be enjoying them myself. But I have an awful lot of seedlings in the greenhouse that need to get planted out, like ideally a month ago, but they weren't quite ready. So they'll be going out despite the risk of frost to overwinter. They are hardy, but I'll be covering them for a few weeks until they get good root establishment. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3 for each. Yep. Now I'm going to see if I can get a little bit of feverfew. A lot of it's gone over. This can be harvested for seed. I'd really like to get a few stems, but I'm not sure. Oh yeah, this one's fine. I'd ideally like all of one variety, but beggars cannot be choosers. And I wasn't planning on using this gomphrena. Those asters need to come out for sure. But I think since we're low on feverfew, let's try and get 10 of these guys as well. There, that's a nice little bit of filler. Now, when at all possible, I like to strip my leaves outside. It's just basically providing mulch. Everything turns into compost, and I don't really have time to properly manage my compost pile. So I like to have about 30 to 35 stems per pumpkin. Before I cut anything else, let's just do a quick count. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30 zinnias, so that's 15, 18, 29. Okay. Greenery, that's what we're missing. I need to add some greenery, and then that should fill everything out really nicely. I've been using a lot of mint the last couple weeks, but the patch is starting to look a little tired. I'm gonna see what I can find. It might be okay. Oh yeah, there's a lot of new little shoots that I didn't notice. I think this is gonna be fine. I have 16, that is 8 per pumpkin. And I lost count once or twice, so I may even have more than that. But what I'm going to do now is let these sit for a couple of hours before I put these pumpkins together. The mint does have a tendency to sulk and droop a little bit. It's a nice, cool, overcast day though, so I don't even need to bring these indoors. It's probably warmer in the house than it is out here actually. I'm going to go make a cup of coffee and then we'll come back and put these together. There we go. So we are ready to put these together now. I've already washed and hollowed out the pumpkins. I did buy these pumpkins locally. Just up the road from me is the famous Dill Farm, home of the Atlantic giant pumpkins. And this time of year, they are doing pumpkin weigh-offs, there's contests. That farm is only about 5-6 minutes up the road from me. So it's a great place to visit. If you're locally and have not visited Dill Farm yet, definitely do so. I grow a lot of the small pumpkins myself, but not these bigger jack-o'-lantern types. When I do these arrangements, I do find it easier to do basically bouquet style in my hand and then just slip them into the pumpkins. The necks of the jars are not very big, so it becomes harder and harder to get the stems in the jars. I'm always worried I'm going to miss and put them just in the pumpkin outside of the jars. So what I'm going to do is try to make 2 matching, as close to matching bouquets as possible, because these are going sort of as a set. So in each we're going to have about 15 zinnias, 3 snapdragons, 8 to 9 stems of mint for greenery, 3 feverfew, 5 of these gomphrenias, and anywhere between 3 or 5 of these ornamental grasses. Those I am going to stick in at the end. So this is fall. We like all the colors. I want these to be bold and bright. Things are growing pretty slow this time of year, which means that plants are not replenishing blooms as quickly as they used to. So I want to vary what I'm cutting from. And I do have, I think, 6 more of these to make within the next week before I completely shut my season down for the year. Not sure if these are Oklahoma salmon or a pink variety that I bought locally, but I need to find out because I love these. Progress so far. So that's a start. Now because I won't be tying these, I'll just be putting them in the pumpkins. I can do a little rearranging after I get them in there. So I'm not being too fussy, but I'd like for it to mostly be set up how I want it when I get it into those pumpkins. 15 and some mint, and this one is just about done. So I'm going to call this one done, and it's going to open up a little bit when I put it in the pumpkin. Needs a little bit more. Dahlias, that's what it needs. We're going to tuck a couple of dahlias in here. Actually, I think I need to shorten these stems just the tiniest bit. That's better. I'll keep them tucked in a bit more too. Now we stick the dahlias in. I like to sit the dahlias just a little bit taller, a little bit higher up. There we go. Oh, that's looking much more full. Then I'm going to take 3 of these grasses and just pop them in wherever there's a space. 1, 2, 3. There we go. There is one done. Let's move that one over and do the second one. I'm just making sure I'm varying the colors, and this is a wild selection of colors. I also want to mention that I'm not a florist, and my prices reflect that. They're definitely not cheap, but they are not florist prices because I'm not paying florist type of overhead, and I haven't done florist training. These are just market style arrangements that I can quickly toss together for more casual settings. I don't do weddings either, and there's a good market for that type of thing. especially for those who want locally grown, sustainable flowers. This is a great option for them. Not saying I won't pursue floristry in the future properly, but at the moment that is not part of my immediate plans. There, I'm missing a gomphrena. Oh, so I want a gomphrena in the middle, so I'm going to pop that in after I get it in the jar. And at this point, where I haven't cut any of the stems yet, it's easy for me to adjust the height of some things before I pop it in. And if I was cutting them and putting them right in to the water, instead of doing them like this, I wouldn't be able to do that. So, whoops, I lost a dahlia. Some of these mint stems are bent, but that's going to work really well when I put them into the jar. They can hang a little bit over the side of the pumpkin. And on the first one, I see that that's happening a bit, and I like that effect. So I'm going to put the dahlias and the gomphrena in last. So these are now ready to cut. There we go. Now we pop the dahlias in. I like having these little unopened dahlias sometimes because, contrary to popular belief, dahlias will continue to open a little bit in the vase after you cut them. Not much, but a little bit. There we go. Oh, the gomphrena. Let's pop that right in there. Then 1, 2, 3. And that is both pumpkins finished and ready to go. And what I tell my customers is, after a couple of days, to put the pumpkin on a plate or some kind of a dish, because they are cut, which means they're going to start to rot before too long. And I use the jar inside rather than just filling the pumpkin with water, which I have seen people do, because that is going to help them rot so much faster. But the zinnias and mint in these arrangements, and snapdragons too actually, should last a good 10 days. So the flower arrangement will outlast the pumpkin, which is great. She'll get to enjoy these flowers for a good long time. And this is a really easy thing to make at home for a Thanksgiving centerpiece too. Just grab a mason jar, hollow out a pumpkin, and grab a handful of flowers or anything growing in your garden. Even a wrap bouquet from the farmer's market actually would do the trick. Just trim the stems down a little bit. And if you have anything growing in your garden, you can always add to it. But that is all for me today. Thank you so much for watching.